radical idea that gave birth to America. It wasn't a sudden outburst. The seeds of revolution were sown over decades, rooted in growing tensions between Great Britain and its North American colonies. After the costly 7 Years' War, or French and Indian War as it was known in America, Britain needed money. They felt the colonies should help pay for the war and their ongoing defense. This led to a series of acts imposing taxes and regulations on the colonies without their direct consent. The cry, "No taxation without representation," became the rallying cry. The Stamp Act of 1765, taxing printed materials, sparked widespread outrage and protests. It was eventually repealed, but Parliament insisted on its right to tax the colonies with the Declaratory Act of 1766. More taxes followed with the Townshend Acts in 1767, leading to boycotts and further unrest. Tensions escalated dramatically. On March 5, 1770, British soldiers fired on a crowd in Boston, killing 5 colonists. This event, known as the Boston Massacre, fueled anti-British sentiment across the colonies. The Tea Act of 1773, designed to help the struggling British East India Company, granted it a monopoly on tea sales in the colonies. Colonists saw this as another attempt to assert Parliament's authority to tax them. In response, on December 16, 1773, a group of colonists disguised as Native Americans dumped 342 chests of tea into Boston Harbor. This was the infamous Boston Tea Party. Britain's reaction was swift and severe. They passed the Coercive Acts in 1774, which the colonists dubbed the Intolerable Acts. These closed Boston Harbor, restricted town meetings, and allowed British officials to be tried in Britain. These acts unified the colonies in opposition. They saw their liberties being systematically stripped away. Every great drama has its cast of characters, and the American Revolution had some truly remarkable individuals who shaped its course. On the American side, we have leaders like George Washington, a Virginia planter and military man who would become the commander of the Continental Army and later the first president. His leadership was indispensable. Thomas Jefferson, the brilliant mind behind the Declaration of Independence, articulated the philosophical basis for the Revolution. His words continued to inspire. Benjamin Franklin, the elder statesman, inventor, and diplomat, played a crucial role in securing foreign aid, particularly from France. John Adams, a passionate lawyer and advocate for independence, was a key figure in the Continental Congress and later a diplomat. Samuel Adams, a master propagandist and organizer, was instrumental in stirring up revolutionary fervor in Massachusetts. On the British side, King George III was the monarch determined to assert royal authority over the rebellious colonies. British military commanders like General Thomas Gage, General William Howe, and Lord Cornwallis faced the challenging task of suppressing the rebellion across a vast territory. These individuals and countless others made decisions that had profound consequences for the future of the world. The Intolerable Acts led to the calling of the First Continental Congress in Philadelphia in September 1774. Representatives from 12 colonies met to discuss a unified response. They agreed on a boycott of British goods and sent a petition to King George III, asserting their rights. However, they were not yet calling for independence. The situation deteriorated rapidly. British troops in Boston were ordered to seize colonial military supplies stored in Concord. On April 19, 1775, British troops marched towards Concord. They were met by colonial militia in Lexington. The first shots of the revolution were fired here, often called the shot heard round the world. The British continued to Concord, but were forced to retreat under heavy fire from colonial militia along the road back to Boston. The war had begun. The Second Continental Congress convened in May 1775. They established the Continental Army and appointed George Washington as its commander. Despite the fighting, many colonists still hoped for reconciliation. However, events pushed them towards a complete break. Thomas Paine's pamphlet Common Sense, published in January 1776, powerfully argued for independence in plain language, swaying public opinion. Finally, on July 4, 1776, the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. This document, primarily written by Thomas Jefferson, declared that the 13 colonies were free and independent states. It famously stated, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." The war for independence was now fully underway. The Continental Army faced a formidable challenge against the well-trained and well-equipped British forces. Early years of the war were difficult for the Americans, with defeats in New York. However, Washington's surprise attack across the Delaware River and victory at Trenton on December 26, 1776, boosted morale. A major turning point came in October 1777, with the American victory at the Battle of Saratoga in New York. This convinced France, a longtime rival of Britain, to formally recognize the United States and enter the war as an American ally. French financial aid, supplies, and military support, including troops and naval power, were crucial to the American cause. Spain and the Netherlands also later provided support. The war continued for several more years, with campaigns in the north and south. The Continental Army endured hardships, famously wintering at Valley Forge in 1777-1778. The final major battle occurred at Yorktown, Virginia, in 1781. A combined force of American and French troops, supported by a French fleet blockading the Chesapeake Bay, trapped British General Cornwallis and his army. Cornwallis surrendered on October 19, 1781. This decisive victory effectively ended major fighting. The surrender at Yorktown led to peace negotiations. The Treaty of Paris was signed on September 3, 1783, formally ending the war. Great Britain recognized the independence of the United States of America. The new nation's territory extended from the Atlantic coast west to the Mississippi River. The American Revolution had profound consequences. It led to the creation of a new republic based on principles of popular sovereignty and individual rights, though the full realization of these ideals, particularly regarding slavery and Native Americans, would be a long struggle. It inspired revolutionary movements around the world, influencing events like the French Revolution. It demonstrated that Enlightenment ideas about liberty and self-government could be put into practice. The statistics tell a story too. While exact numbers are debated, estimates suggest around 25,000 American deaths from combat and disease, and similar numbers for the British and their allies. The financial cost was immense for all sides. The 13 colonies, with a population of roughly 2.5 million people at the start of the war, had successfully challenged the mightiest empire in the world. The American Revolution was more than just a fight for independence. It was a bold experiment in self-governance. It established a nation founded on the revolutionary idea that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. Its principles continue to be debated and strived for, making the study of this period not just a look into the past, but a reflection on the ongoing journey of democracy and human rights. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the American Revolution. It's a story of courage, conviction, and the birth of a nation that continues to resonate today. Make sure you subscribe for more journey around the world. See you in the next video. But before then, stay curious, stay adventurous,